What I plan to do here is start in December 2012 and work my way back to February 29, 2012, or almost a year ago. The reason behind this is a new discovery that cropped up when I saw two substantial peaks of UFO hotspot activity on December 12, 2012. Yep, on 12/12/12, and then 25 days earlier, or on November 17, 2012. Looking first at the 12/12 date, we see 16 hotspot locations out of a total of 57 reports on that day, or 28% of the total. The daily average for December was 30 sightings per day, which means that the number of reports on 12/12 was 1.9 times the average. To me at least, it was a bit unexpected since it wasn't on a Saturday, which is normally the biggest day of the week due to there being more witnesses out and about each week on that day. However, my UFO day cycle, A, of 7.1436 days in length, was peaking on that day. Looking at the MUFON data for that month, specifically all reports of objects within 501 feet to 1 mile of the witness, we see a prominent peak for Wednesday. A large part of this was due to activity on this date, 12/12. 25 days earlier, on November 17, there was another peak with 21 hotspots on a day that had 54 reports, or 39% of the total. The total number of sightings on that day was 1.44 times the daily average for that month. The day before also showed notable activity, but at a reduced level of 7 hotspots out of 55 reports, or 12.7%. After tracing things back to earlier dates that developed higher than usual hotspot numbers, I have determined that these peaks are in part due to a cycle that is actually 26 days in length. The effect of this cycle lasts 3 days before and after the peak date. In this case, the peak date was November 16. Looking at other peak dates for this cycle before these last two, there was some hotspot activity within 1 to 3 days of the potential peak date, but not as significant as the ones that I will be showing you here. Like the 12/12/12 date, August 4, 2012 also had the peak occur when it was scheduled. This in no small part was due to the fact that it fell on a Saturday. This day also coincided with a peak in my UFO day cycle C of 6.76 days in length. There were 17 hotspots out of a total of 51 reports, or 33% of the total. The daily average for this month was 45 reports, so the 51 reports for this day was not much more than average. The most impressive day that was observed occurred on May 19, 2012. Then there was 27 hotspots out of 69 reports for that day, or 39% of the total. Off the map, but also on this date, were 3 hotspot sightings in Portland, Oregon. The total number of reports for that day was also outstanding, being 69, or 2.35 times the daily average of 29.3. Like the 2 dates in November, this one also had some hotspot activity the day before, but limited to 3 hotspots northwest of Detroit, Michigan. That day, or the 18th of May, was slated to be the peak date, but the next day, or Saturday, like in November, won the contest again. We now come to the last day of February and the first day of March in 2012. March 1st was the bigger day and not only coincided with a 26-day cycle peak, but also a peak of my UFO day cycle C of 6.76 days in length. There were 6 hotspots out of 31 reports for that day, or 9.4% of the total. The day before there were 4 hotspots out of 24 reports for that day, or 6.7% of the total. Both days had average number of reports for their respective months. The last peak in the proposed 26-day cycle wasn't as big as the rest, but I brought it up for a couple of reasons. I haven't refined the 26-day cycle enough to know its exact length, but it appears to be very close to that length, so that 14 of them fit into 364 days, or almost a year. A year after this last peak is when I am predicting the peak of my UFO day cycle A, 7.1436 days in length, and C, 6.76 days in length, which fits into a cycle of about 4 months and 1 week, when at least 2 of my 3-day cycles peak in unison, which has been mentioned in my video for part 2 of the 2012 UFO wrap-up. The 26-day cycle, which I will call UFO day cycle D, appears to occur a day short of a year every 14th peak, but also on the same day of the week. Thus the peak on 3/1/12, a Thursday, occurs 14 full cycles later, on 2/28/13, also a Thursday. Since its effect lasts 3 days before and after the peak, and there is a double peak of UFO day cycles A and C the next day, the biggest day should be the 1st of March 2012. Since Saturdays have more witnesses available than the other days, that too, or March 2nd, should also be big. I'm not sure what the most likely place to be would be for a sighting, but I would say that Florida is a good bet. Interestingly, 2 of my original 3 UFO day cycles also fit nearly evenly into 364 days, while the other one, UFO day cycle C, peaks in coincidence with a 365-day year. This is what I attribute the late John Keel's Wednesday phenomena to. He saw peaks on Wednesday in the month of March in both 1966 and 1967, or a year apart. Another future date to look out for is July 7 and 8, 2013, when my UFO day cycles A, B, and C peak in unison. On July 8, 2013, the 26th day, or UFO cycle D, also peaks. I again wish to thank Harold Daniel and his sightings report.com website, without which this presentation would not have been possible.